Hello and welcome to another episode of my NT marriage. I've changed the name if you hadn't noticed. It relates more, I think, to what's actually going on here. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about why I stay, which is obviously one of the questions I get asked a lot, and no doubt a lot of people in my situation get asked a very similar question. So to begin with, number one, he's safe. That's very, very important. You've heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, yes, words can be a little bit sort of, a punch in the guts at times. And he's definitely said some questionable things over the years. But at the end of the day, I know my truth, as I've said before. He can't convince me of something that I'm not. So a lot of what he says, I disregard and don't believe. Whereas he would never be physical with me. He would never be physically abusive. He will never beat me to a pulp or try to strangle me. If I left him, he's not going to try and murder me or the children. He's a safe guy like that. And he's a gentle giant, a big teddy bear, and he cuddles more these days, and you just fall right into those cuddles. So that's number one, very key, important reason, and that is it's safe. Reason number two is he's a hands-on dad. He'll take the boys tadpoling to the park and to their sports games, up the street, shopping if they need clothes, school uniforms. He'll watch a movie with them, wrestle with them, muck around with them, and just generally spend time with them. And that's definitely more of a new age thing. That wasn't something that was happening when he and I were younger. Dads were kind of hands off and let the mum do it all. But he's really interactive in his children's lives, which I think is wonderful. He helps around the house. That is so important to me because I'm a clean freak. It would bother me if I was with somebody who was messy. It's important to me that I'm with a man who is house proud as well. He's not one of those guys who leaves, wet jocks on the floor and things like this. But he also cooks and does the dishes and does the washing and does the vacuuming. He helps out around the house, which I think is important because nobody wants to be doing it all on their own. He's a great cook. He loves to cook and he's good at it. When I first met him, one of the dishes that he made was lasagna, which is one of my favourite meals. And I can't cook it to save myself, so bonus. Meet a man who can cook my favourite dish. This is, the gods have spoken. But also I love cooking, so it's nice that we both enjoy that. He's steady and predictable, stable, dependable. He's kind of all those regular steady things you want in a partner. He's a great provider. He goes to work, he just gets the job done, he doesn't grumble about it, he doesn't quit at the drop of a hat. He's very steady in that regard, and he takes care of the finances, the banking, the bills, the shopping, the groceries, and all those kinds of things. He looks after himself, which I think is, again, quite important. I know that there's a number of people on the spectrum and off the spectrum who will neglect themselves. They will let themselves go and they'll, I don't want to be putting anybody down for, not taking care of themselves. But there are people out there who just don't, who just get up in the day and just don't take care of themselves at all. They don't worry about whether they smell good or their clothes are clean or they're eating healthy or they're moving, exercising. It's not about being lean and fit all of the time, but you can still be healthy regardless. And I like the fact that he's like that. He really likes to take care of himself, and he does the skincare and the perfumes and aftershaves, and he dresses nicely, and he does exercise and look after himself. So I like that about him. I love his smile and his laugh, and I know that that's not, say enough of a reason to stay, but combined with everything else, it certainly helps. I love goofing around and trying to make him laugh, and I like the fact that he thinks I'm funny and does laugh at my goofy kind of mum jokes and things like this, because his laugh is just wonderful. I love the sound of it, and his smile just lights up his face. And our children have that same smile as well. So, it's a very handsome smile. I do like that about him as well. He accepts me for who I am. As mentioned just before, he likes that I'm goofy. I do this thing where it's automatic, as a matter of fact. If somebody says just anything, a statement, and it just happens that that's a line from a song, I'll break out into singing that song, just spontaneously. I'll know that that's a song line, and I'll start just joking around and singing it, and he thinks that's hilarious and witty. For me it's just a standard random thing that I do, kind of can't help myself, but he thinks that's really funny. But aside from that, I can just be myself. Aside from the fact that he's kind of always wanted me to present as perfect, when it's just him and me, I can be myself. I can get up and have my hair all, messy and crazy, and he'll think that that's, just funny and normal and things like this. I could spend the day in my pajamas if I wanted, because I just can't be bothered to get dressed that day, and he'll be like, okay, this is who she is, haha, funny. Just things like that. I can be me, and I like that about him. I don't have to be pretentious. He's happy with me going off and doing my own thing. So if I go out for a night with the girls and things like that, he doesn't begrudge it. He's not annoyed. He's not asking me, why are you getting dressed up? Why have you got lippy on? He doesn't get jealous and things like that. He's happy for me to pursue my hobbies and things like that. So if I want to start painting, he's got no problem with that. If I want to draw, he's got no problem with that. I like that he just lets me be me. And anybody who's with an autistic person or an Asperger's person, you'll know that you spending time on yourself and doing your own thing outside of the relationship and outside of them is so important, because generally they'll not do it with you. They're that kind of person. So as I'm saying, he likes me to be me. He doesn't mind, say, if I go and do dancing lessons, for example, but he won't join me in those dancing lessons. But he's happy for me to have those outside activities. It gives him time to have his own wind down and alone time. He's a good friend, not just to me, but also to his mates. He's loyal and dependable, and if they need anything, if anybody needs anything, he's there to help. So he'll loan people his trailer, he'll go and help them with some light fitting that's broken, he'll help my brother go and buy a new car and things like this. So he's a good person like that. I don't know what my neighbour is doing and why they've chosen now to do it. How dare they make noise in between the regular noise making times. He's kind to his parents, and I think that's really important. When you see how somebody treats and interacts with their parents, it's really important and nice when they're nice. That being said, he did used to speak to his mum in disrespectful ways when I first met him. I think that was a learned thing within their family. But I called him up on that and he stopped. So aside from that, he's very respectful to his parents. He doesn't rebel, he doesn't talk back, and he always makes sure that they want for nothing and that they're okay, and if they need anything, he's there for them, and I like that. He's also kind to animals, and again, this is such an important thing. I mean, we all know that, for example, serial killers will often kill animals prior to starting their murder sprees. And so it can be said of the opposite of that, that when you meet somebody who's kind to animals, that's a very important part of who they are, and it shows you that at their core, they're good people. And I like that about him. He would never hurt an animal, which is, I think, very endearing. We have the same ethos, the same sort of ethics, I guess. Ethos, ethics, either way. He's not into racism and sexism and bigotry and disliking minorities, and he doesn't bag people and backstab people. He's not a liar or a cheater or a gambler or an alcoholic or a druggo. You know, we have the same sort of principles and goals in life, and that is to be fundamentally good people. Everyone deserves love. Now, yes and no. I mean, there are people out there who are absolute twats and arseholes and bitches and don't take care of themselves, and they don't look after themselves mentally or physically, or they're just not nice people and they don't work on themselves. I mean, there's definitely people like that out there. But for the most part, everybody deserves love. Everybody has that desire to be loved. Generally, they want to love people in return. Like when I think of my son, for example, who's also on the spectrum, I would hate for him to get passed by because he's different. That would just be awful. When he was growing up, everybody used to call him a heartbreaker. They'd say he was going to be a heartbreaker when he was older because he was such a good-looking boy who's now grown into a nice-looking man. And he now sort of, you know, says, well, how did that turn out? I'm supposed to be this heartbreaker and there's no girls knocking down my door, yada, yada, yada. That being said, he probably wouldn't notice if a girl did like him because it wouldn't be something that he would be cluing on to. She'd have to specifically go up to him and say, hey, I like you. So I think that he's got admirers and he just wouldn't know it. Nonetheless, I still think that he has the right to love just like anybody else. He's a very nice person, he's sweet, he's giving, and I would hate for him to be deprived of it. And so it's the same with my husband. I wouldn't like my husband to have to be single and lonely and just kicked to the curb. I mean, granted, there's been times where I've wanted out of the relationship and just thought, I can't do this anymore. And some of the things that he says and does are so questionable that I have wondered, is he really nice or is he just pretending? Because some of the things that he does are just nasty. But when I look in his eyes, I can see that there's that kindness there. He doesn't, I mean, he has deliberately hurt me on occasion. I think everybody has those spiteful, passive-aggressive moments. And when I say everybody, I use that term very loosely because I'm sure that there's lots of people who don't. I don't. But anyway, he has a kindness in his eyes and I can see that. I don't think that he's deliberately really trying to, stick the knife in and turn it. I think that overall he's a very decent guy and he is deserving of love just like everybody else. And the final point I make is that marriages are hard work. All marriages are hard work. Whether you're on the spectrum or not, whether you're neurotypical, neurodiverse, neurotypical, it doesn't matter. All marriages are hard work. All marriages have their ups and downs and their hardships and their good times. It's stock standard. Yes, some marriages are harder than others. You'll get people who are really positional and just refuse to change. I mean, you see this sort of thing all the time where you've got an abusive person and they're refusing to seek help and better themselves and learn and grow and leave that anger and aggro behind, and they'll blame everybody else for everything that's going wrong in their world. Yes, there are people out there like that, and they would be more hard work than your average person, yes. But at the end of the day, all marriages are hard work. Mine is no different. I've got neurotypical friends with neurotypical partners who have complicated and hard marriages, who aren't necessarily having the time of their life at times either. So I'm realistic like that. I'm not expecting things to be perfect. I'm not expecting that as soon as they're hard, we should run. I mean, aside from Yavel saying for better or worse, he's not doing deal breakers. And deal breakers for me, as I've mentioned in a previous video, are things like beating me up, cheating, lying, gambling, being a creep, and he's not that kind of person. So yes, we've had our hard times. Yes, there are things that I still struggle to overcome. There are still hurts that, are always there in the back of my mind that I want to let go, but I do struggle with that. But at the end of the day, I'm fully aware that it takes hard work and gumption to make a marriage work and grow. And I will say that he has been open to learning and growth and things like this via seeing counsellors. So he also wants to put in the hard yakka to make the marriage work, and that's very important. Anyway, so there you have it. They're my reasons for staying. There's probably more, I can't think of specifics off the top of my head, but I just wanted to let you know that right now, because you probably watch my other videos and think, what the hell? But there's always good with the bad. So leave a comment below if you can relate to any of this. And if you have other reasons and things like that that make you stay in your relationship, drop a line, drop a comment. Love to hear from you. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video.